Namaskaram, welcome to another episode of Curious with Mayank. And as we discussed last, today we are with someone who is one of the seasoned architect, has designed some of the best homes across India and Bengaluru, Kiran sir. Kiran sir is founder and principal architect of Design Matters, an architecture and design firm based out of Bengaluru. Kiran sir, thank you so much for giving your time to discuss with us the current challenges of home and how it could be made better. And thank you so much. We are honored to have you here.
Okay. Thank you for having me on this program. And I think these are subjects that I feel very strongly about. So it'll be nice to touch upon these subjects that you will probably be asking me.
Sure, sir.
Yeah.
I think diving straight into the discussion,
Yeah.
architects are always considered as someone who are very serious,
Yes.
who do all the big works in terms of buildings, bigger homes. Uh, do someone who are coming from middle income groups or upper middle class or the new middle class that is coming up, do they also need architects to design their homes because their home spaces are pretty small, 30-40 plots if they are doing it independent homes?
Yes. Yes.
And then apartments that they would, so people casually say they are matchbox apartments. Do they also require architects as such? Sorry for questioning directly architect profession, but it's just like from that, because we have a huge chunk of new middle income groups,
Yeah.
higher income
And
groups.
higher income groups. I think upper middle class, I think it's the bulk of the, at least the society that's living in a city like Bangalore or Delhi or Bombay, I guess. Yes, absolutely. I think one thing that you should not miss while designing, be it a house for a upper middle class, or be it a site on a 30-40 plot, probably even a 600 square feet plot, it is absolutely essential to have an architect on board. That is because, as I always think, that you have only so much of space to play with, right? So you'll have to make the best use of that space. So an architect is trained for to in space planning. That is one of the most fundamental principles of architecture, is how to make best use of the space. Since you have only so much space to do, so hire an architect, rely on his experience to put the planning together and to make the best use of the available space. And also, secondly, it's not just about planning; it's about getting visual delight. Like even in the most smallest of spaces, you can create small courtyards, a green pocket here, use the terrace wisely to make out a breakout area. Especially the in-between space is very important in any house that you design. The in-between space, what I mean by that is the space between the inside and the outside. These are your balconies, your terraces. So how we can visually connect with nature, and how we can visually connect with one another in the house. So we believe in having levels, or probably having a small courtyard on which the rooms are arranged. So from the first floor, you can probably see your parents below in the ground floor. Your children can see you from their room below. So there's a visual connectivity in the house. So this fosters a sense of well-being. It has been widely documented that the spaces that we live in has a profound impact on our minds, our well-being, our our state, our mental state. So I think it's undeniable. And even for apartments, Mayank, like supposing you're given a raw apartment and a 950 square feet, a 1 BHK, say 600 square feet, 500 square feet, irrespective of it, good interior designers can do wonders. Play with materials, textures, getting in light, the kind of upholstery, the curtains, the lighting, furniture, the space planning is very, very important. And as I told you again, if you have a small site and if you have a small apartment, I think you should be the first one to go to an architect.
But I think they have this specific notion that architects charge a lot. They
Yes.
charge a bomb. I don't think, majorly because they come from an information where
Yes.
there was a time when
Yes.
architects were hired to design some big homes, big spaces. But
Yes.
now, with time, it has more become a necessity because we are from time immemorial, land is limited.
Yes.
And now everyone is building in apartments, and few people would take some pockets of land parcels and want to build it up, so they think that architects are costly. uh, but in my personal opinion, I understand that architects is a consultation, is the complete planning of the space. So if we do not hire an architect, it will add up to the cost, because you are losing on space, which is very costly.
Yes.
So how do you solve that notion, because it's a general perception which is, in my opinion, I feel it's wrong. I think you'll be better
Yeah,
about.
absolutely right. I think there is a perception that coming to an architect is expensive, and many people actually don't even approach one. Probably they get their engineer or the contractor to design it, and it ends up being a contractor designed or engineer designed home. Which, of course, with all due respect, it is good, but always get in the relevant experience of an architect. I think it works both ways. So I think where the client has to really make a mind shift change is that, see, I've seen a lot of clients who come with us for small sites like 1,200 square feet size, but I have a decent budget. See, I think it's time that people start budgeting an architect's fees, or the input of an architect, as a just like how he budgets for, say, the Italian marble that he always loved. He wants to put in house the teak wood that he loved in his house. So I think you should always factor and budget in an architect's fees as one of the components of building this house, one of the expenses. Secondly, I feel that yes, while doing your research for architects, there may be some who are quoting exorbitant fees or a little bit more expensive than others. Yes, that may be well deserved because probably they've done great buildings and it's period of time. But you have to understand one very important thing. When you go to a dentist or a doctor, it's a consultation. Okay, so you pay him probably 1,000 rupees for the consultation and then you get out. But when you're going to hire an architect, please remember that this journey is almost like a journey for around 15 to 18 months. An architect has to prepare the initial concept, finalize the concept, do the BOQ, the tender document, and then has to give working drawings. Plus, he will have to hire his own structural designer, MEP consultant, that is lighting consultant, I mean electrical consultant. So all these charges are there, which the architect has to bear. Secondly, once the building starts, so he or his staff will be attending the site. The structural engineer will be going to the site to check whether this is coming as per the drawing. So, and every slab probably there's a steel checking from the structural engineer. Then, so the building is kind of vetted by the architect. He ensures that whatever the plans that were initially done is being carried out by the contractor to the as per the drawings, which is very important. So, and later all the finishing details like your flooring drawings, your elevation, railing, etc., each and every drawing is given by the architect. So I think in a journey of start to finish, I think we probably give, and every architect, around 100 to 120 drawings are done for one house. So this is the kind of detailing that goes. So please bear in mind, when architect quotes his fees, is quoting for all these elements. So put together, it's reasonable, and believe me, once you build your house, you're going to live with it. It's for you for a lifetime. So just doing something on a whim and a fancy is not going to help you, because you're going to be stuck with that badly planned building for the rest of your life. But where an architect can really make a big difference is by virtue of his experience, by virtue of his past planning, can build you a beautiful house which is going to last you a lifetime. So I think when somebody gives you a design that is going to impact you for the rest of your life, future generations probably, I think you can guess whether it's worth it or not, right? So,
Yeah, and also means, so would it be right to include the cost of an architect in the land price in terms of mindset wise? Because generally what happens, that cost of an architect comes as an additional cost rather than being part of the whole,
yeah,
because land will be staying with you for eternity if you bought it.
yeah.
So as architect's design which he has built, considering in mind that this home would be there for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So it's much better that perception change, that you put the cost of architect
Yeah, the cost of the architect should be factored as a building cost.
as a building
Definitely,
cost.
yes.
Yes.
Like how you're going to be paying for your steel, the cement, the RMs, concrete, wood, flooring. You have to factor and budget an architect's fee
But the
as per
only
this.
thing is, because these all materials are tangible, it's visible.
Yes.
An architect's design is not visible until it comes on
Exactly.
ground. So that's why I think there is so much
Exactly.
of
Exactly.
uh,
So that's a very important thing that I've always felt during our profession. And whenever we quote a fees and some clients say it's too high, why should we pay so much for drawing 4 lines? I know an architect will do it for half quarter. That's a little bit of a pinpoint in our industry. I think we are trying to educate clients as much as possible to make them realize that an architect's service, because it's intangible, they're not able to make out, is it really worth it? Whereas probably the wood, the Italian marble, or whatever thing they're looking is a tangible material, right? I mean, you can see it. So, yeah, I love this material. I want this for my floor. But an architect service is intangible, but it is the architect who's putting all the things, all these materials together. So please remember that. So I think it's very important to factor in an architect's fee as part of the project cost.
Okay. And building upon that, how do we find a good architect? So
Yes.
that is a normal question. If someone really wants to go for an
Yeah,
architect,
yeah.
what are the things they should look in
Yeah.
an architect so that they have that peace of mind? Okay, there is
Oh,
someone who will take care of technicalities all over.
that's
Because people have that mindset that we'll hire a contractor, we'll get some designs from some places,
yes,
and then we'll buy material in bulk, get discounts on that, and he will stitch all together.
yes,
But as we both know that this is something, it messes up everything.
yes,
Design to implementation is where the real game is.
yes,
And if it doesn't happen accurately, you have to live with that errors for the rest of your life, and
yes,
with the regret every day you watch something which has not been the way it should be.
yes.
So how do we find a good architect?
Yeah, that's a good question because not just about good architect, but how to get an architect to fit in your budget. I think that's also a relevant question. So, see, in this information age where you're totally inundated by by information, by videos, by reels on Instagram or YouTube. Probably most of the architects' work, good architects' works, are featured in different platforms, be it Insta, be it YouTube, Buildify, ArcDaily, so many such platforms are there, and all nice platforms. So try to look up the architect's works, see if they have designed good houses in this plot of what you're looking at. So of course, probably start off with a 1,200 square feet plot. If you have a larger plot, look up the architect's work, see how they've used the spaces. Does their design resonate with what you intend? Is the other material usage what you have in mind? So I'm sure that you'll be able to shortlist the architects, and then you can approach them. And probably depending upon the seniority and their experience and the kind of stature they have, of course, the fees will be much more. And probably, if that is beyond you, you can look at somebody, upcoming architects, the second who are doing some really good work. And if you see Instagram today, there's some great work happening. Even youngsters are doing amazing work all over India, and I've seen very nice work coming out of architects from Kerala, from Bangalore, uh, even tier two cities, Coimbatore, you name it. I mean, people are doing great work. So reach out to them, find out find out about how they what the charges are, what are the scope of work, and probably that will help you in fixing up who the potential architect for your house can be.
So can we conclude there could be few critical questions that could be asked to architect? Majorly their proof of work, what they have done,
Yes.
because this is a brick and mortar industry. So
Yes.
what they
Yes.
have done previously will
Yes.
actually adds a
Yes.
more important part. What they have done, what
Uh,
scope they have
yeah, yeah,
undertaken.
yeah, yeah.
Because what I understand that it's a very there's so many variable factors into it,
Yes.
end to end.
Yes.
Of course you take care of all the technicalities, but in middle there will be many contractors, someone who can pull all the contractors together and make it work in sync, because there is always a flow to it.
And one thing I forgot to tell you, Manik, is that probably I would encourage the clients, potential home builders or homeowners to meet the homeowners for which the architect is designed, so they can get an idea of the feedback, how their journey was with the architect, how accommodating he was, and how seamless that experience was. So you'll be getting a first-hand account of that. So that's itself is like a kind of a testimony for the architects.
So
So that would be good.
naive question, but would an architect's previous clients would be ready to give the testimonial to
Yes.
a
Yes.
customer? Because I am not aware that
No,
I'm
they
not sure
do.
if they
They
do
do. They do.
what is
Yeah,
the industry
they
practice.
do.
It is a normal thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. They
It is
do.
a fair ask from a
Yeah, yeah,
possible
yeah.
homeowner
Ab-
to ask the architect, yeah, I would
Absolutely.
want to speak with the work which you did for some other home, because of course for them also it's a very big investment
Yeah, yeah.
savings. So it's a fair ask as per
Yes, it's a
industry,
fair ask. Yeah,
nothing
it's
wrong
a
in
fair ask.
asking this
Yeah,
question.
or you can share any or you can ask the architect to share any testimonials across Google reviews or any other testimonials, because we generally reach out to our clients after our house is done, and then we try
For
to
that
ask them
complete
to give you a testimonial on Google.
Okay, that's perfect, sir. And what about the contractors? Because
Yes.
typically, as I understand, the contractors are will always work with architect to make things happen. So how the customer, how the owner would uh, be sure that the contractor is the right person. Of course, it will go
Yes.
with the trust of the architect,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
architect
yeah,
will take care of
yeah,
it and other
yeah,
things. But still, what?
yeah, yeah. This is also a very important, I think, a pertinent question, I would guess. And I feel that any good house is a result of both the architect and the contractor. Hiring the good architect is only half the battle. But the remaining half is, I see, I might design a great building. It's got very modern, a very modern building with straight lines, clean corners. And if you have a contractor who's not able to get your straight lines and your whatever finishes, then obviously a great design cannot salvage a bad construction quality, right? So you need both hands. So you need so to see any project coming out well, we need a good coordination and a good synergy between the architect and the contractor. And yes, so how to select the contractor? So here, yes, there are a lot of people. This is a very important misconception amongst builders, because there are clients who have approached us and asked us. So there are a lot of people who are doing turnkey constructions and say they'll do it at 2,500, 2,200 per square feet and all that. But believe me, I think you'll have to really check whether it's possible to do in those rates, and also check for hidden charges, because you might be they may be saying that the some tank is extra, compound wall is extra. In all fairness, yes, it is there, but just read the fine print while appointing the contractor. Secondly, again, as I told you, speak to the client for which the contractor has built a house, and probably it'll be good if you can get some testimony from somebody for whom he has built a house which is over 4 to 5 years old. So you will know how the building has aged.
All the challenges
Yes,
which would
yes,
have creeped in,
yes.
that
Because
seepage
usually,
issues and
yes,
all that stuff
because
will be.
usually in the first year you will get a little bit of like hairline cracks and other things which are not very dangerous. These happens during the course of construction, because the building is settling down, because there is alternate expansion, contraction. In a place like Bangalore, where it's
Bangalore,
hot,
yeah.
it is cold, and the thing, so it undergoes changes. But then it should settle down, and your cracks and all should not repeat after a year or so. So see how the journey has been with the contractor, how accommodating is been of changes. And secondly, in some of our sites, we have clients who say small changes like moving this wall by here, as long as not doesn't have any structural impact, we can do it. So how accommodative is a contractor? Because at many times while doing the planning, the client is not able to visualize the size of the room. But once it comes on the site, they're saying that room is a little small. So can I make the study smaller? Can I make the bedroom bigger? So yes, as architects, we are always open to doing these changes, but is the contractor ready to do it? And lastly, the pricing, you can always check those in the industry. Every good finish comes at a cost. It doesn't happen at a discounted price.
So major challenge of this industry and also its sister industry, interiors,
Yes.
construction interiors, transparency in the materials promised and what has been used, means overall in general it is a perception
Yeah,
ki
yeah,
if there is a contract or something,
yeah.
they have committed certain materials, certain kind of cement, or when you go into interiors, type of plywood material. So is it a fair ask to ask them exact what material they are going to use?
Yes. Yes, so see, when we do any typical building contract or building tender, right? So all the specs are mentioned. So steel, what is the steel are we going to use? Are we using Indus, GSW, Tata, etc. Cement, is it Billa Super, etc. So each and everything is laid down over there. So the tiles probably using a Nexion or a Simpolo, and every brand is mentioned with alternatives or equivalents.
Because of course
And
there is a material
yes,
shortage and other
yes,
stuff which is
yes,
industry
yes,
challenge, so
yes,
that's okay.
and it is very important that you draw up a contract with the contractor. This is very important because this is a legal document and you're talking about 1 crore, 2 crores probably worth of a contract, right? So it's very important to have it documented and have it each and every clause documented, so there's no misunderstanding between you and the contractor later. And yes, material specs are very, very important, because I can finish a house for an X price. I can always finish a Y price, the same kind of house, but there's maybe a big difference between the two, because the specs have changed. See, I can get some cheap quality tiles from some places, and whereas I can use a very good quality tile from, say, a Nexion or other brand. So there is a very big difference in these two. Like the same thing goes for even steel, even goes to cement. So always opt for a tried and trusted brand which can give you which people have used, and you know you're safe using it. So yes, I think specifications of all the brands should be clearly laid out, and the contractor is bound to use these things.
So this is for everyone. So as
Yeah.
Kiran sir says, there is no harm in asking for complete transparency end to end. You should ask, but you should have an architect in place so that it
Yes.
your
Yeah,
journey becomes a bit
yeah. So
easier.
this is also one more thing why you need an architect is the architect also is able to guide you during the construction process and also in drafting this contract. So there's always some we make a tri-party agreement. There's a owner, architect, and there's a contractor. So each of them are part of the thing. So the contractor also has this knowledge that see the architect is there. He's laid down the specs, and any change in the specs has to be mutually agreed upon by both the architect and the owner before doing the change. So it's a little bit transparent. It ensures that you're not going to have hidden surprises later.
So, sir, the QC part, which is very
Yes.
critical in this
Yeah.
segment, the, and yeah, before that, one more important thing: how much uh, supportive 3D designs are, because right now we are getting high quality 3D designs, but
Yes.
does the same concept follows what you see is what you get, or
Yes.
at least 90% it gets
Yes.
implemented
Yes.
nowadays?
Absolutely, we're able to do. 3D designs are very important. We use software to generate the models and then we render them in rendering softwares. And yes, so many clients, we feel that as the layman, they're not able to visualize the spaces. When we show a plan, they're not able to visualize, okay, how big this would be. If interiors is within our scope, we also do 3D models for the inside. But the exterior, we are able to give an elevation. Elevation also, we try to figure out it's not just facade development. The inside goes to the outside and what kind of facade the building has. We do a render and show to the client. And of course, that also goes through some revision based on the requirements. But 3D softwares are absolute must for any architect, and it goes a long way in the client to visualize his house, how it would look before actually building it.
Because as I remember earlier, there was SketchUp files which doesn't have that kind of high quality
No.
rendering. It is just
No.
line.
No, we render the files. I mean, you have to use rendering softwares to render the files. There are many out there, standard software that we use. But I think that to be honest, that age has moved on. We're now in the age of AI and walkthroughs, and not just walkthroughs. Probably we are able to get hyper realistic
There are a couple
walkthroughs.
of tools where you
Yeah,
upload
you
your
can actually
majorly for interiors. You upload your
yeah,
room image and
yes,
then it will
yes,
search.
and mostly now it's more VR based, where you can, you have a VR headset. You can actually move through the spaces virtually. You can even probably see the house, feel the space before it's built. So I think there's tremendous advances over there, and there are also I think some warehouses where people are hiring space and laying out the plan for you. So the modules, how big your room would be, and
Wow.
so each supposing there's a plan, so you can actually there's a
So they
mock-up
align all
model
the.
1-in-1 scale
So they
that is done, so laid out, so you can actually see the spaces. So
similar to when buildings are built. So
yeah,
they
yeah,
create
yeah.
a
Yes. And
scale.
now, yes, and also there's a lot of innovation that's happening in the precast industry in steel structures. One very interesting move is that a lot of people are looking at like container homes, where they're taking a shipping container and remodeling it.
I think container homes have also become old. Now they are coming up with 3D modeled. They just
yes, of course, 3D printing is
3D printed
revolutionary. Yes,
molds. I think
yes,
Tata
3D.
has Tata.
Yes, but that will have to have some. It is still in a nascent stage. So I think once more usage is there, the cost will come down. But container homes is a very good option for people who plan to have farmhouses, or like when now you see it a lot being used in real estate. Companies are using it for
Offices.
their offices because it's very quick to do. But for I think it's great for a farmhouse or something because you're reusing something, right?
But from architect's perspective, would it pass the QC of it being durable? Because I know it's a 20, 60, or there is some
Yeah, there are
size,
particular sizes for
sizes are there.
containers.
So
Yes, it lasts and it's perfectly fine. And there are very lot of companies in Bangalore doing great work, remodeling container homes and doing like with fantastic interiors and even doing the required insulation inside. So I think it's a good option. I think the time has also come for us to look beyond your steel brick and mortar houses. We should look at new materials, and I think the future. Yes, there'll be a lot of there's a lot of innovation going on, but we have to move beyond regular materials as our basic structure can also look at new materials for construction.
regular materials in terms of means we need to move
Regular
from.
is what I'm trying to say. You generally have masonry, right? You've got your brick, you have your steel, cement, RCC columns. It all takes time, as you know, because you probably
We need
each
to
slab
water
takes a
it
month.
and
You
then
have to
you
cure it and then move it. So I think that has moved on. Already, because of Maivan technology, we have got rapid advances in high-rise buildings. So because of aluminum formwork, we're able to put a slab once in 7 days. So every 7 days you can do a slab. But of course, these are only for big apartments where there is repeatability of the module. So I think almost all the big builders in Bangalore embrace this technology, and that's how, if you notice, they've been able to put high rises very fast.
Very fast.
Yeah, but it doesn't work out for a house because there's no repeatability. I mean, your house is an individual thing, right? So it does not work out. So, but I feel there are new any technology that can make your house come alive faster is, I think there's always a search for that, and I
without
think we
compromising
require that.
on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
overall
obviously,
build and
obviously,
other stuff.
yes, yes.
This is very insightful, sir. Now coming to the overall quality of things that when we design a home, the one is we decide the external part of it, interiors, because you work in design, so we discuss about the building the homes from plot. Now interiors, when it happens in an apartment where we are working with very small spaces and lot need to be done. Of course there are nuclear families, mostly 4, 5, 6 people would be max, which we assume. What should be the mindset of first a customer when they are getting the interiors done, because you also do interiors, so and
Yes.
you do all spaces, so just
Yes.
wanted to understand what would you suggest them when they are getting the interiors done, because they have to their work with fixed space, they know what how
Yeah.
many walls are
Yeah.
there, and the space for making changes is very limited. You
Correct.
can't move
Correct.
like certain electrical points, and concrete pillar would come somewhere.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
how do we answer that for consumers as an architect thought process, and as you have designed so many wonderful homes, how do we work with fixed spaces? What a client or a homeowner should look forward to when designing that space?
Yes.
End to end.